Oh, God. Oh, my God.
Speaking of bits, this was a great opportunity for us to see Nicolas Cage's bits.
Agreed. Did we see Ballsack?
We did
Nope.
not.
Ah, boo.
I totally thought we saw his ass pumping in Joe, but no, it was just another random ass going to town.
That's right. I forgot about that scene. Yeah, today we're discussing Joe and Zabadoo.
Zabba-dooba-doob-dop.
Now, before we,
Benicio del Toro's Pepiniki.
using dating apps as viral marketing is shockingly working well.
I'm glad. I mean, we definitely got some upticks. So.
I put it as like a fun fact about me, and 90% of the people who like contact me are just like, wait, are you actually doing this? And then I'm like, yeah, Cage Match, a roundabout way of meeting Nicolas Cage. And a few have been like, I'm listening to it now. And I'm like, and you're still talking to me? That's a good sign.
And then they ghost.
Yeah, within an hour, you lose them.
Welcome back to Cage Match, a roundabout way of meeting Nicolas Cage. I am your host, Sean,
I'm Nick.
and our producer.
Peter, hello.
And this is our podcast where we are watching 64 of Nicolas Cage's best films and weeding them down bracket style.
And worst.
And worst.
64 movies that definitely say Nicolas Cage on the poster.
Yes.
Yeah, they
In
definitely
the-
use him as name clout
Yeah.
sometimes. So, but not in these two movies.
No, he's actually starring in these two movies.
Which is actually also like why I'm here. Just name clout.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, everybody's like, oh, Nick? Fucking
I'm
great.
listening.
Yeah, no last name, just Nick? Cool.
So, since it's March Madness, this is a podcast that uses March Madness bracketology. So we've got 2 movies, a 3 seed going up against a 14 seed today.
Okay, so we're doing Zandali and Joe.
I have a question for you, Nick.
Oh, okay.
Do you suffer from erectile dysfunction?
No?
We're now a sponsored podcast for Cialis.
Well, because, I mean, Zandali is essentially like Viagra or Cialis of the movie.
Ric Flair is the official erectile dysfunction spokesperson for Mike Tyson's weed brand.
Wow.
What?
Yeah. So Mike Tyson's got
Forget
a
the
weed
movies.
brand,
We're talking about this from now on.
and Ric Flair is the ED spokesperson for it. Woo!
I mean, is that the thing? The person takes the ED medication and then just Ric Flair like goes woo
You
and
mean they smoke the
they
pot?
smoke the pot. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not degenerates. You
Okay,
can leave
stop.
that pause in.
Stop the
Good
podcast.
one.
Stop the podcast. I want to watch this now.
This seems like something that's in your dreams.
Seeing them hanging out and stuff. Oh, fuck yeah, dude. Oh, man. Back in college, I had a professional wrestling themed birthday party one time.
Incredible.
It was so good. I had the best Ric Flair costume. It was just like full body blue suit with like a huge feather boa. And I was just rolling around body chopping people, screaming, woo, the whole night.
Hey, Nick, do you suffer from erectile dysfunction?
Get the fuck out of here.
Constantly.
You got to keep all this in, Peter.
Woo!
Joe from 2013 stars Nick Cage as Joe, Ty Sheridan as Gary.
He's Cyclops.
He is Cyclops, and Nicolas Cage was a Ghost Rider.
Yeah,
That was one of my fun facts for this film.
it's an MCU connection.
Yeah.
Even though neither were MCU movies.
No. And Gary Poulter plays Wade, Gary's father.
All right. So this is Joe. A coming-of-age story about Gary, a 15-year-old who finds friendship in the unlikeliest of places. Passing through town, Gary meets Joe, who gives him a job on his work crew. Joe teaches Gary about the value of hard work, women, and friendship. When Gary's sister lands herself in a pickle, he turns to his only friend for help.
Lands
Gary.
himself in a pickle is a horrible way of phrasing what happens to his sister.
We don't know that anything happened. She was
Ugh.
just in a jam.
I mean, nope, not going to touch that one with a 10-foot clown pole.
Concise? Fully wrapped up the movie.
Yeah.
It's a banger.
Yeah, okay. I mean, you did accomplish the goal.
Yeah.
Uh,
I've been practicing. I've been summarizing all sorts of shit. My sex life rocks.
that's the summary of your sex life?
Yeah, good summary.
It's a coming of age story, bro.
All right, so Joe,
Played by Nicolas Cage.
played by Nicolas Cage. I liked it.
Yeah, I thought it was really fun. It was It was a really interesting movie. It was very well performed. Learning more about the script, how it came about, the adaptation of the novel, a little bit more about the author, who a lot of the characterization of like Gary and things like that were all kind of based on.
Nice.
It was really interesting.
So 2013, this is Pete Cage taking whatever he can get to make a buck, and shockingly good for this era of his work. I mean, he puts on a great performance, and one of his better portraying drunk that we've seen in a long time, because that swings wildly.
Yeah, no, he had a very consistent performance in this movie, and I think it was really good. Like, his characterization was pretty grounded. The script really helped. I mean, it was a really well-written adaptation of this novel. And
Nick Cage himself said that, this character is one of the closest he's ever played to himself, so he wasn't even really acting.
Well, it's interesting because my note was that this felt like the most authentic acting performance that we've seen from him. So that actually really does make some sense.
No.
Like that, it felt very whole.
Yeah. No real wild antics. I mean, just in terms of acting, like no extreme tonal modulations.
Yeah, he didn't.
Like he plays a consistent character.
So the character Joe is an ex-con who runs a work crew. This is in outskirts of Texas. And he works for the timber company. He goes in, and what he does is just killing trees. So they've got these weird like Ghostbuster backpacks which pump poison into a hatchet. And they just like hit the tree a couple times. The tree will die. And then the timber company will come in and cut it out and whatnot. I don't know why it has to be done in that order. So you pay a company to remove trees, and they just fucking do it.
I did love
I grew up
those
in a
hatchets.
very those hatchets ruled. But I grew up in a very logging centric area of Oregon.
Yeah.
So Gary comes into town. He's got a real shitheel old man dad who beats him, and it seems like they just kind of drift from town to town. And he runs into Joe's crew out there working, and he's like, "Hey man, I need a job. Can you help me out?" So Nick Cage gets him in there. He's like, gets somebody showing him like, here's how you deliver water to the other guys. Here's how you use the Ghostbuster axe. Here's how you do.
Great little montage.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, and it's fun. It's actually fun watching it because this kid playing Gary, he kills it. Like,
yeah, Ty Sheridan did a great job in this.
He's really fun to watch, and he's just, I don't know, he comes across as like a 15-year-old kid super well. Like, he's just a little goofy. He's very sincere.
Like, the only other things I know him from, we talked about Cyclops in the later X-Men films.
The second half of the X-Men movies.
The bad ones. I mean, I don't like really any of them, but the extra bad ones. And he was in Ready Player One.
Oh, yeah, he was in
Ready
Player One.
Also bad.
Yeah.
So it was really nice to, be like, oh, I see why you get work.
From there, he gets his dad on the crew, but his dad is obviously a very, very late stage alcoholic. He's not good for anything. Ends up getting both of them kind of taken off the crew list through just a late night in the rain boombox kind of scene.
Say anything kind of scene, yeah.
Ty Sheridan comes back and manages to secure himself another chance at the job, and so Nick Cage takes pity on him, brings him back,
like on the sly though.
Yeah, he's like, you gotta meet me here at this convenience store before the sun rises. And that's pretty shady, but and then we'll get you there. And that it just happens to be where the whole crew meets up anyways. But
besides the dad's issues, the other main kind of antagonist of this film is
Willie Reynolds or something like that.
I went through a windshield. I don't give a fuck. His his catchphrase.
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome. Like, he says it so many times.
Introduced to in the film, having seen Joe like coming out of a convenience store, it's like, you know who that is? Yeah. And then the friend's house, just from a truck. Hey, Joe! And then shoots him in the shoulder.
I thought I had missed a scene. And just
Same.
like,
No, I
entirely
love
gotten
that there's
drunk
just
or
this
something.
existing beef,
Yeah.
and it's such a like small slight.
And they briefly, touch on it later that, they got into it one night and
He slapped him.
Yes, no.
slapped him, yeah.
Nick Cage slapped him. It embarrassed him, and so now he goes and he like takes a pot shot at him from like, I don't know, 50 yards away. I mean, it was a bad one, but I just love that later he's like yelling at Nick Cage and he's just like, I could have killed you. And he like shot him in the shoulder. He's like, I could have killed you. I was shooting at the trees, but that was a warning shot. It's like, you were shooting at the trees and you hit him in the fucking shoulder? I don't think if you wanted to, you could have killed him. I think it was literally impossible. I mean, their little beef is just so dumb.
Yeah. That beef continues slowly throughout the film. It simmers.
It does.
But that guy also gets beef with Gary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, because after he shoots Joe, he goes to chuck the gun in the river.
Yeah.
And Gary sees him and wants a ride into town.
Yeah. This is also where we get the backstory about the slap, and we get the greatest line from him, which was just, hey, come here. Look at my face. See that? I went through a windshield at 4:00 one morning, and I don't give a fuck. Folks looking for trouble often find more than they're after, and I will kill his fucking ass if he ever slaps me again. And like, that's the only time, like, that's the first time they tell you why he shot Nicolas Cage. It's like, oh, he slapped you, and you're gonna shoot him. Okay.
Yeah.
And
And then
he's such a badass.
Yeah, and Gary's just like, okay, fine. And then he starts asking Gary about his sister.
Yeah.
And that's when Gary goes off and beats the shit out of this guy, which then goes on to this guy looking for Gary the rest of the movie. Joe's a real mad about town. He's kind of helps out a lot of people. Joe frequents the local sex worker establishment.
It's a whorehouse.
It's a whorehouse. There's a dog there he doesn't like because it bit him on the ass once.
Mm-hmm.
What? Okay, speaking of dogs, though, the first time he goes there, he's trying to have a little liaison with the madam.
Yeah.
And it gets busted up for whatever reason. It's not important. But then one of the other sex workers like crawls into the room on all fours.
Well, yeah. I mean, that was just fun. It was fun and games, and they were having fun and games with each other. You could see it.
Who was she doing it for?
For the madam. She was still sitting at the table having a drink, and like the hooker walks back in. It's totally okay to call them this in this situation. Crawls back in. I know, but you looked at me. Crawls back in like a dog, and the madam's just like, knock it off. And then they both laugh to each other.
I feel satisfied now.
As you should. From trip 1 to the whorehouse.
But yeah, he just goes about town until he gets shot and then goes home and his girlfriend shows up. Someone like she has troubles at her home with her mom's boyfriend coming back and doesn't want to go home.
Yeah.
So they have a just convenient relationship.
Yeah, she's
Also,
definitely significantly younger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we just talk about just how just shredded Nick Cage is in this film?
He's pretty bulked up.
Yeah.
Like for, early 2013 you said?
How old is he
He's,
now? He's 59 now.
So if he's 59 now, and
59.
he's
Oh,
10
yeah,
years
10 years ago.
This is the easiest math. 49.
49.
Woo! We got there.
This is great content. But yeah, no, like
Nick and Sean learn how to math.
he's a big boy.
Yeah, no, he's got he's stout. He's a working man. He does like a hard labor job.
Little Junior Brown, he was huge for. Gets big for Con Air. And this?
Which was like the same time.
Which was the same time. And this, he actually, I'm assuming he was turning down work to do this film. And I think part of that must have been working out. Because he turned down Expendables 3 to like prepare for this film.
Nick Cage isn't a gimmick actor. And that's a gimmick movie.
It's true.
I'm glad he did this instead.
Yeah.
I was actually a little apprehensive about this movie because I was like, man, I don't know. Like, it looks like it's not that good. Very pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it had really good performances across the
Yeah,
board,
and
and it was beautifully filmed too.
Oh yeah, and not just by the like primary the A camera team, but the B team got really good like establishing shots and the way they framed people. Like when G Dog, Gary's dad, followed the homeless guy back to where he was drinking his wine. I mean, just the shots of the two of them sitting there were really good. And then he beat the guy's fucking head in with a piece of steel, and stole his Boone's farm.
That was a brutal, violent scene.
Yeah.
It was.
Stole some cash and...
But then
So,
also
I
the
wanna
juxtaposition of like the kissing the guy on the head and like...
Yeah, well,
feeling
he
the
wasn't
shame.
doing it to be violent. He was doing it because
he's a crippling alcoholic.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about this actor real quick. So David Gordon Green, is that the name of the director? I
Yes.
said it once. Always hires locals for his films. Wade, Gary Poulter, this is his one acting credit. He was a homeless dude in the city where they filmed, and David like hired him for this job. He actually died like 2 months after wrap of this
He
film.
drowned. The homeless guy that he killed is actually the father of one of the actors who was on the work crew.
Oh wow!
So-
That's cool.
I
Another
mean,
tie there.
great performance. I mean, you can't really understand a thing the man says, but for just being a guy they like met and used, good job.
Yeah, I mean, he's got that thick, like, alcoholic kind of slur, and I don't know. I feel like his lines came across fine. I'm old, though, and I watch things with closed captioning.
I do
so.
Yeah,
So I got all the words.
Yeah.
I didn't watch it with closed caption.
I learned how to pop and lock.
That was a charming scene.
It was. I mean,
you see the
that character had his moments where it's like, oh, okay, I can see why Gary didn't just run away. I mean,
Yeah.
like, obviously he was protecting his sister Dorothy as well, but I could see why he didn't abandon his family, because in, classic abuse ways, there's just enough good sprinkled on top of it that you're like, oh, he could be helped, or
Yeah.
like he's just having problems, like it's a bad day.
I mean, it really hit home for me just because I have a friend from the before times who pretty large substance abuser and who's been going through a rough spat for several years, largely because he doesn't want to work. But I'm like, oh, that's going to be that guy.
Is that the fedora wear?
That's the fastest skanker in
The fastest skanker in Virginia.
in Virginia. Last I heard, he was doing exorcisms. I got a voicemail from him one night where he claimed to be a real life John Constantine.
Oh, that's
So-
pretty neat.
His life is going well.
Are we just gonna go through Joe? Like, where do we leave off? Whores.
Gary is the one thing Joe really does care about. Early on, Joe drops Gary off from work, and his dad like mugs Gary in the front yard. And Joe's about to step out and do something, but stops and gets questioned about it later from his girlfriend. And I think this is where we first hear him say, him not getting involved in other people's lives is the one thing that keeps him out of jail.
Yeah. He's definitely got like a big anger problem and restraint problem.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't stop.
Yeah.
And he knows that about himself, which is good. And we see it a couple times. Like, he definitely gets harassed by the cops.
Yep.
There are definitely shitty cops in this.
Oh yeah.
I will say Earl, the sheriff, good cop.
Yeah.
Yep.
But like clearly Earl and Joe used to run together. So before Earl got on the straight and narrow, like he was, Joe says he was worse than him.
Yeah.
Earl keeps Joe out of trouble. Why does he get arrested?
Well, he got arrested because he was driving home. They flashed their lights to pull him over, probably because they know he drinks and he's confrontational. He spent time in state.
29 months in the pen for assaulting a police officer.
In the movie, the first time we see him get arrested, they flash their lights to pull him over, and he's like, fuck that. And so he like just keeps driving. They like try to pull him over. He like swerves to get the cop off his ass. And then there's another cop up ahead. So they've got him pinned, and he stops and gets out of his car and gets all confrontational.
Tells them to
and-
put down their guns so they could fight it out.
Yeah. He's like, let's just talk about this like men. And he's like putting up fisticuffs and stuff. And
Okay, wait, now I remember the scene. So he bar fight happens where he almost stabs dude in the face.
Uh-huh.
Goes to the whorehouse, dog's there, drives home, gets dog, comes back to the whorehouse, has his pit bull kill that dog so he can fuck.
Yeah.
Well, just a blowjob.
Yeah,
Just a
he just
blowjob.
needed a blowjob because he was real on edge after
Yeah.
almost stabbing Willie.
Yeah.
Right.
And then-
I love
Bar
that.
model.
I love that scene as he's walking up with the hooker.
He's like, he goes in there and then it cuts to upstairs and you just see a man-ass just going to town. And I'm like, wow, like Nick Cage really committed. Then it pans over and that's just another dude fucking with an open door. And it just pans over to Nick Cage walking up the stairs.
Yeah. When he goes to the whorehouse and talks to the hooker, he wants to get with the madam, but she's not there. So he's like, okay, I guess you'll do. And he's like interviewing her to make sure that she's good enough to slob on his knob. And it just goes like, got any pets? I mean, I had a cat. Cat? Beautiful. What's his name? Missy? What'd you feed it? I don't know. Fucking dry food. What's your favorite color? Red. Blow me. It's like, boom, boom, boom. Okay, I know enough about you. You can suck on my dieseler. It's fine.
And then he has like the loudest orgasm too.
Oh, man. Yeah. And then he's just, it just
Woo!
rips right out of him. And then he's done. And he's just like standing up, like practically knocking her over as he does. And
Yeah.
he's like, I gotta go.
And so then he leaves. That's when he gets pulled over by the cops. He lets his dog out, just run free.
Yeah. Which I was thinking about. I'm like, he probably let the dog out because he knew the dog would actually attack a cop if
Yeah.
it came by the truck. So it's like, oh, that makes sense.
And
They
it's-
never talk about it, but the dog jumps out and it runs.
Yeah. And then this is where we meet Earl, lets Joe out. And then Joe and Gary go to find the dog,
Mhm.
which leads to one of my favorite lines from this film.
Oh, one of my favorite scenes too.
Oh my God. The montage is just so good.
But my dog's about 100 pounds, brown and white, looks like a cow. Looks like a cow? Right. You have a dog that looks like a cow? Well, it's not that big a deal. A lot of dogs look like cows.
They're also a little bit drunk at
Yes.
this point.
Yeah.
He's letting Gary drive. He lets Gary have a roadie.
Yeah. Gary tries to buy a beer off of him and he's like, you can have a beer, but you can't buy a beer. Friends don't buy things from me. I don't know. My favorite line came out of this as well. This little drunk montage.
This is the cool face.
I'm going to give you 3. They're so good. I have to give you 3. First, when they're driving down the street and Gary's driving, Nick Cage is, lighting a cigarette, just gets done giving Gary a beer. And he's just flicking his Zippo. He's like, you hear that? That's the sound that gets hookers excited. They know you got cash. They hear that? And that was a wild-eyed look around from the hooker. So that one gets me because I get to say hooker and I get to make visual jokes that
No one will say.
yeah, Josie understood why I liked that. My second favorite quote from the same montage is our cool face quote. You want to know how to make a cool face? All right. Anatomy of a cool face. Make a face of pain. Now smile. No, smile on top of the pain. Hold the pain. Smile through it. You ain't drunk, are you? Shit. I better drive. You know what, Gary? You got it made because think of all the beautiful girls you're gonna fuck. I used to know this girl lived around here. Shit. Where's my dog? I raised that dog from a pup. It's like, he's so drunk. He's just kind of like rambling, but this cool face thing because, I mean, find us on Twitter. You'll see these cool faces.
We'll
We're
put
going to
on
make
Reddit
some.
too, but
We're going to go Reddit too.
We'll do both. Why not?
Yeah.
Instagram, all the socials.
Okay. Find us online. You'll see our stupid ass faces.
Leave a comment while you're there.
So at the end of this montage, Joe's talking to Gary and he's just like, you got to work on that cool face. You got to stand like you own land, right? Now make the pain face. You got a lot on your mind. Now smile. Yeah, it's like, I got a lot on my mind, but I can do it. I can get through it. Yeah, you're getting it. That's cool. And they're just the dumb. They're the coolest faces.
Yeah. I think this is the third film in a row where this really is just completely sold by the two leads just vibing off each other so well.
they have such good chemistry.
Yeah.
Like the scenes where the two of them are together are just honestly a lot of fun to watch. Even when the subject material is more mature, or it's not a walk in the park.
Yeah. So the next real major thing to happen is Willy's Wonderland. What's Scarface's name?
Willie.
Yeah, so Willie like finds Gary's dad on the street. He's like, "Hey man, I want to rap at you." And so it cuts to Gary like just fucking beat up and pissed and showing up at Joe's, and he's like, "Let me borrow your truck. I gotta borrow your truck." And Joe's like, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Like, let's talk about this. Like, you're real worked up. And it comes around to like Gary's dad took Gary's sister and was like going off for some clandestine meeting with Scarface.
Yeah.
Now, when they get out there, Scarface and his buddy, Willie and his buddy, are just like, they meet with Gary's dad. Gary's dad's like $30 each. No explanation. And like, you know, Willie's getting into the back of the truck
with a terrifying Easter Bunny mask.
Yeah. And I mean, it's obviously going to become a sex thing. And this is around when Gary and Joe show up, and Joe like tosses open the truck, throws Willie out, gets the sister out, tells Gary to like get the sister out of there and get him to safety and get Earl for help. And then he proceeds to confront Willie and his buddy, and eventually resolve everything.
Yeah, he's gonna blow Willie's brains out. And Willie's excuse
I'm glad
was,
you finished that sentence.
Willie's
Just gonna blow Willie.
Willie's excuse is, well, she was gonna wind up, you know, working at the whorehouse anyway before Gary can, you know, take care of Willie, Willie's buddy. Shoots Joe in the butt.
Gary shoots him in the butt.
Shoots him in the butt. Blowing in butt stuff.
So, yeah,
Monster.
Joe takes a shot in the side, takes one in the leg, manages to take out both of the low-life rapey scums, goes to finish off.
Oh, but the key on that one is that he shoots Willie in the middle of him doing his line about going through a windshield.
Yeah.
Which is like the fourth time he's gotten into this
I went
line.
through the
but he
windshield
doesn't...
at 4 a.m. I don't give up. Bang.
Yeah.
And goes to confront Gary's
dad.
I don't think they say anything. Gary's dad just like climbs up on the bridge and...
Yeah, Joe tries to
Yeets
shoot
himself
him,
off.
but he's in a bad place. Like, he's not doing well, so he misses. He's out of bullets. And the dad was definitely just like the consequences of what he was there to do just to feed his alcoholism.
Yeah.
I think were really weighing on him. And he just said, fuck, just kind of lets himself go over the side, kills himself off the side of this bridge.
Cops show up with Gary, Earl, and Dorothy.
Mm-hmm.
The sister.
Which I don't know why those two were brought back to the scene.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
Obviously for narrative reasons, but
also,
shitty cops.
Gary could say goodbye to his father figure. You know, looks over the bridge to see his, you know, actual father, and like literally dead in a ditch.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Which is good.
And then we have a really nice kind of, again, narrative scene of Gary talking to the leader of a work crew. The guy gives him the same kind of spiel about when he's going to get paid that Joe gave him in the beginning. And the guy gives Gary a job because he knew Joe, and Joe's a good guy. And they are planting new trees on the land that they cleared. But it's a good ending.
It was a good ending, and
really nice.
It wrapped it up nicely, and it adds like a
hope.
It bookends it. I thought it was a really good watch.
I had no expectation going into this one. This was another one of those. It's a Nick Cage movie from this era. I know I'd heard good things, but I had no idea what to expect.
Yeah. It was a Dark Horse 3. I mean, I did not expect anything out of it, despite where we had it ranked.
Good movie, good Cage.
Good movie, good Cage.
Bad cop, good kid.
Mostly bad cops, one good cop.
Yeah. Oh,
good
man.
kid.
We didn't talk about like when
Harry Cage.
Nick Cage like got out of the car with that second cop, like when he was solo, and he just like walks right up to him and like fucking slaps the gun right out of the kid's hand.
And his
hat.
like,
slaps his hat, and then just like slams his head into the car or whatever. And it's just like, Jesus Christ, Nick. And then he just gets off with a warning from Earl. He's like, well, that rookie was a little too ambitious. I get it. It's like, Jesus.
No, I thought everything about this film was great. We talked about the way it was shot, just all the acting in it. Everyone was amazing.
I think it held up all the way through. It's a pretty tight 2 hours.
Yeah. Hey, Nick, I got a question for you.
Okay.
Do you suffer from erectile dysfunction? Woo! Because Judge Reinhold does in Zandalee.
Yeah.
Zendaya starring Nick Cage as Johnny Collins, Judge Reinhold as Thierry Martin, and Erica Anderson as Zandali Martin.
You're forgetting 2 other important people.
Marissa Tomei as Raimi.
Yeah.
And Steve Buscemi as
the OPP man.
Yeah.
Which is like
that was my next
a
note.
penitentiary work release kind of a thing. Yeah, he's like a garbage man.
And Joey Pants. Joe Pantaleone as Jerry.
That was literally the first thing I wanted to talk about once we did the summary was who else is in this movie for little to no reason.
Everybody.
I think we covered it right
Thanks,
there.
guys.
I mean, it's the same time we were introducing the characters.
Yeah.
That's the time to introduce characters.
But these aren't actual characters. That was just going to be a fun... These people are also in this movie for no real reason. Like, they could have literally been played by anyone. It wouldn't have mattered.
Not true. All right. Before we get ahead of ourselves, Zandalee. A coming-of-age story about Zandalee, a young woman looking for love in all the wrong places. When things grow stale with her beau, Thierry, Zandalee finds comfort in the arms of artist and childhood friend of Thierry, Johnny. Things heat up when Thierry tries to win her back on a bayou boat trip, only to be surprised by Johnny's arrival. Who will Zandalee choose?
I'm liking these summaries.
Yeah.
So yes, Thierry works for a cable company that his father started. He has a terrible Louisiana accent.
Oh my God, it's the worst.
So bad.
This is officially the worst accent we've had in a Nicolas Cage movie. And
It's true.
We've seen Nicolas Cage do a Boston accent. We've seen him do a Boston accent. And there was the time we heard him do a Boston accent.
So
I'm excited when we get to see him in Captain Corelli's mandolin. And
Doing
he
a
does
Boston accent?
A Boston accent.
Yeah.
okay, so let me set the scene for how this movie opens. Boobs.
Yeah, boy.
You see a little bit of Bourbon Street, and then the titular Zandalee's tits are out.
But it's not just her boobs. Those were just like the appetizer because you get bush right after it.
Yeah.
That's true.
This movie has full frontal female nudity.
In my notes, I wrote, like, this is just softcore porn.
So I went hard in the paint for this movie during our like bracket making because it is one of the only like incredibly horny Nick Cage movies, and
This might be the sexiest Cage. That mustache and goatee combo.
Oh, that's called
okay.
a Van Dyke, sir.
yeah, the Van Dyke is a good look on him, but like, is he sexy?
All right.
I mean, he's got like thinning hair mullet, sort of.
Oh, yeah.
It's
But
sexy for 91.
I'm not going to
Okay.
lie. The costumer gave him excellent glasses for his head.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because he not only did he have like multiple pairs of glasses that he wore, they had a real optician kind of look at him and be like, hey, this is the size of glasses. And here's some really cool
did work.
artsy styles for you to wear.
Hey, Peter, do me a favor. Say hard in the paint again.
Hard in the paint.
Speaking of which, that's a segue. Only fun fact I
That's
found.
not a segue.
It wasn't. You asked me to do a thing.
Shut up.
You asked him to do it, and then you just said, speaking of which, that's a segue.
No,
Hard in the paint.
one of the sexier scenes where Nick Cage is painting Zandalee, paints her like belly button area. But either way, the actress was saying how, she hated that scene because Nick Cage went a little overboard with his acting on that one. And she felt actually
his
violated.
hand acting.
Yeah, she said that he was a little intense in some of these like sex scenes. This is probably a prime example of a movie that could have used what do they call them? Intimacy coordinators.
Absolutely. Yeah.
There's just so much, and yeah, I mean, Nick Cage goes past the navel and practically down to the bush with this paint.
And I mean, I assume she's wearing a merkin or something, but still.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good one if it was. I'll have to go down to my local merkin shop and compare.
A mercantile?
Oh my God.
That's all, folks. This has been Cage Match. Good night.
Sean's officially off the podcast.
That is the best thing that you're going to say, though. Like, there's no question about it.
So, Nick, you called this. I mean, you knew, or maybe it was you, Peter. Someone last episode was excited for all the medium sex we were going to see.
Oh, that's me.
Yeah,
I'm
and we
very
definitely
excited.
saw a bunch of medium sex.
Yeah, medium is the best way to describe it.
Which This movie initially had like an NC-17 rating.
I think it still is. It never got, or it's just unrated now. They took it from NC-17 to unrated.
They did edit it down to an R version.
Is that what they have up on Tubi? The only place you can see this movie?
I think that was the R version.
Well, now I want to see what its uncut version is.
Yeah, can we find uncut Zandalee? Tell us.
More likely to find uncut Nicolas Cage.
So he plays an artist who, shows up in his like childhood best friend's life, offers to paint him.
Okay, so the introduction to him though, they're at like a club.
Oh,
yeah, they're at a Shriners.
And they're all wearing fezzes and shit.
They've got their Shriner fezzes on, but then it's like it's a backlit thing.
A backlit doorway that he enters.
That just emits fog.
Yeah.
Whipping his hair around.
Yeah, no, they were shooting a music video.
Fucking awesome.
He's a fucking wild boy. But everybody knows him too because like they see just the silhouette and him headbanging and they're like, Johnny! Thierry's just like, oh, it's my old friend that I haven't seen forever. And
I like that his name is John Paul Gregory III. Oh, sorry, John Paul Gregory Collins III.
He's got a real fucking big ass name. He's a big boy.
Well, his dad also like
John Paul Gregory Collins II.
Yeah,
I think they just say Junior at that point.
They would. Yeah, the thirds are usually called trays.
Oh,
yeah. Fun fact. And chips are often juniors because it's chip off the old block.
Oh, so these are just like street names for them. Need to know how to refer to all of my lacrosse friends in the streets.
Yes, but not in the sheets.
Yeah. No words, just emotions.
Okay, I was going to give this movie credit because it has one of the prominent characters is a queer character in a movie from 1991, and it's done well.
Like that could be played for goofs or,
he's just a character.
Yeah, it wasn't
or like he gets assaulted or something to make a story
like that. Yeah.
No, he's not.
Not that Birdcage is a bad movie or anything, but it's not.
But it's not
that
like
way.
overly flamboyant for comic effect.
The hairstylist in The Rock was a prime example of a bad caricature. Right?
So I appreciated the fact that there's 91 queer character, not just there to be like, oh, look at the gay.
And a young Joey Pants.
Yeah, and Joey Pants looks pretty good in a dress.
Yeah.
Way to go, Joey Pants.
Yeah.
So Johnny shows up. Is reintroduced to Thierry's grandma, who he lives with.
Tata.
And Zandalee. No one pronounces her name the same in this. Zandali. Zan.
Yeah.
Zandali.
Zan only comes out when Judge Reinhold forgets how to do an accent. He's just like, hey, Zan.
Their connection was he used to be literature professor at a college, Judge Reinhold's character, Thierry. He was a poet. That's why she fell in love with him. But since his dad died, he stopped writing poetry and stopped getting boners.
Yep.
Did you see the name of his book?
No.
Nefarious Truths.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck yeah, it was.
Such a sexy film. They're married. She's like, let's try and have sex. And he just gets mad about it.
Well,
again, this movie is Viagra, the movie.
When they go to have like sex and they're like, oh, warm it up. And then she immediately flips over and she's like, put it in my ass. And he's just like, I can't operate under this kind of pressure. And she's like, I thought we were going to be adventurous. I thought we needed this. And he's like, I'm going to go put on my fez and cry with my Shriner friends, and leaves.
I'm trying to remember how the affair starts.
The affair pretty much begins from that first dinner or time that Johnny comes over to the place and kind of like, I don't know, he gets all sexy and confrontational with Zandalee. And now nothing happens in that moment, but it just builds on like he pays attention to her, and that's not something she's been getting.
Yeah.
Like,
And it kind of gets kicked off when he reveals the painting of Thierry, and she's sort of like, eh.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then for whatever reason, that like makes him really want to confront her, and
And then
they fuck in the laundry room.
oh man,
no, that's later.
Whatever.
No, he essentially assaults her on the street and like throws her up against a wall, and she takes her panties off.
well, she's a big
That's
jogger.
right, the panty drop.
Oh man, yeah. She's always jogging in the mornings, and apparently she jogs past someplace that Johnny hangs out because he like pops out, spins her into this alleyway, and like they talk a little bit and get to fucking kissing, and he's like, I like it when you don't wear anything underneath. And so she just, you get this weird, uncomfortable shot of like her fucking kids and like foldy down socks as like a pair of panties just drops down into a mud puddle and she kicks him off. And it's like, ugh, God, she wants it so bad.
He's an artist.
Yeah.
A tortured artist.
There's pain in him.
That's the hottest kind.
He's got a lot on his mind.
See, you got to harness that pain and then smile over it.
Yeah.
So then,
He's got
like,
a lot on my mind.
they have their initial
Get through it.
tryst, and then she like, this was a mistake. I'm married. An old friend of Terry's has Johnny come over for dinner one night, and Johnny brings Marissa Tomei, his girlfriend.
I think girlfriend's kind of a stretch.
Brings over another woman, and then Zandali gets all pissy. It's like, don't bring your girlfriends in here. You're the one who had the affair, then said you didn't want to have an affair, and now you're getting pissy that, the guy you're not trying to have an affair with, who is an artist and a womanizer, hence why you had the affair, is, doing this.
So this was one of Tomei's first roles, though.
Yeah.
And then she did My Cousin Vinny immediately after this.
Mm.
And won a fucking Oscar.
Damn.
And that's when they fuck on the washing machine.
Yes,
While
during their
Terry's
dinner party.
in the other room with his grandmother.
Oh my God. And like when he hears, like he can hear the washing machine start up as like Johnny's over there like, I'm just cleaning up.
This is when this is when I sent you, Peter, I sent you the just photo I took of the screen of just Terry just like kind of like side-eyeing as the washing machine's going off, and I asked, do you suffer from erectile dysfunction? And as soon as I hit play, the eyes just looked at the camera and I'm like, perfect timing. As soon as, Terry starts to kind of suss out that something's going on with Zandalee and Johnny.
Yeah, Terry gets very confrontational about the topic of infidelity.
Yeah.
And understandably so. He can tell something's up. She's getting it around town.
Boning down.
So he gets confrontational with a lot of people regarding it.
Except the people he should. Until the gun comes out.
Now, my personal opinion is he had more than strong suspicions that it was Johnny from the get-go.
Yeah.
The way he talks to him at the bar when he's like, I don't know. As far as I know, it could be you. It's like, you're just trying to be so nonchalant.
You're trying to get someone else to admit it.
Yeah. And I can see that as like a pretty good response to learning this.
Yeah.
My opinion is like he just knew from the get-go. He's too soft. He's a fucking poet professor.
Who doesn't write poetry anymore.
Yeah.
Or get boners.
Yeah.
Gotta have boners to write poems.
Mm-hmm. Where else do you put the pencil?
In the urethra?
So Zandalee eventually kind of admits that she's had an affair. Doesn't say with who, but her and Terry decide they're going to make it work. So they go out for a sexy vacation on the bayou. And guess who shows up?
Johnny.
Yeah,
it was in my summary.
I was going to say, this is in your summary. And then we have... Then we get to the real meat of this movie where...
I thought Zandalee got to the real meat of this movie in the first act.
Hey.
Terry and Johnny just want to fuck. Because they, Terry, asks Zandalee to dance, and Johnny's like, oh, I'll dance with you. They, have this little dance on the dock.
Yeah, they have a very... It's not aggressive, and it's not, super well danced tango.
No.
But
just fuck already.
Yeah. I couldn't tell if there was sexual tension or, if Judge Reinhold was just getting ready to pitch him off the edge the whole time.
Yeah, I took it more as that versus the sexual element. But now that I'm thinking on it, I think you might be onto something.
Maybe,
John.
I mean, there might just, I don't know.
Terry could have been kind of closeted.
Yeah.
Like that mustache.
I think they definitely go there. I will definitely say, though, the portrayal of Johnny was exactly what I thought being an artist would be when I was a teenager. And I decided to be an artist. Fucking Van Dyke and sex. That's all I thought I would be getting. None of that's true.
You got the Van Dyke, though, didn't you?
The Van Dyke was...
I did have the Van Dyke.
Yeah.
I will say this week has probably been the sexiest Cage between both films, in terms of just raw magnitude of Joe and just kind of, trying to sell Nick Cage as a sex symbol in Zandalee.
Yeah, in Zandali, he definitely, drips this animalistic nature. I wouldn't say that I wanted to buy him as a sex figure, a sex icon. I mean, kind of thinking about it, it's like, yeah, I mean, they painted him up pretty good.
It's it's 91 sexy.
Right. That's what I was going to say.
This is before cum gutters were invented.
No, I mean, I think he was a sexy character, but I think there was a lot of the aggression in his behavior.
Fuck, he had a real Chris Cornell look.
Yeah.
going
Oh,
on,
that's
dude.
it.
Yeah, okay.
But I think that aggressiveness reads really poorly right now.
Yes,
And,
definitely.
you know, I'm
Yes.
sure in the moment when they were making this, they were like, that shows his passion and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But now it's like, that's
Well,
pretty-
except for the
pretty
scene
fucking
where he
rapey.
like actually rapes her.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
Well-
that part's not so sexy.
It is not.
I mean, and also maybe we just lived in a more sexual expression enlightened time, where it's just like the three of them could have just sat down and talked about this.
Yeah.
In the grand scope of things, I'm like, this isn't the worst thing that's ever happened to anybody.
Yeah, it's not like Nick Cage went in and slapped him at a bar.
Yeah.
That's obviously a shooting offense.
Well, speaking of shooting offenses, after the sexual tango, that's when Reinhold busts out the gun.
Oh, no, they're on a bayou boat.
They're
first,
on a bayou
yeah.
boat. Yeah, we're watching.
not a single boat chase.
We're in Gator all of a sudden.
Nobody else following them.
No,
But they go fast.
They go fast. And he pulls out a gun and just starts shooting wildly to like assert dominance.
Oh, but he's got some good ones. He does like a good like under the arm
Yeah.
and like flip behind him shot. Like he's showing off all of his tricks because he's a very much beta male
Yeah.
who now has a handgun and he doesn't know what to do with it, but he knows that the sound of the gun is intimidating and shooting the gun is intimidating. So he leans into that to heighten this tension on the boat. And then Nick Cage like does a little juke and tosses him off the side.
Yeah.
Old gunboat Collins.
Straight into the hyacinth.
And then
Yeah.
Zandali goes to like try and rescue him because he don't swim so good. Or Johnny is like, I'll do it, gets him. Actually holds him up, and then Reinhold like gives him a little love bite on the neck.
I don't know if I would call that a love
No,
bite.
I'm being
gives him
facetious.
He
He,
gets a
like,
good chomp out of
He
him.
tries to like take out his jugular. And then just gives up and just lets himself drown.
Yeah, and then immediately the
Like
next
a
scene.
fucking beta.
Immediately the next scene is just his tombstone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Zandali's there. And then we've seen twice at this point Buscemi as
Trashman.
Trashman.
Who at this point basically has pretty much just like grabbed his genitals and shaken them at her.
Yeah,
And
he's just
Yeah.
he's just trolling the graveyard for widows. It's great.
Yeah, the first time they see Buscemi, he's like rolling on the back of a garbage truck.
And he hits on
He's
her.
like, yeah, baby, I'm the best at what I do.
And the next time we see him, he's
and what
running
I
down
do
the
is
street
not good.
with the stolen television and tries to sell it to her as the cops are chasing him.
Yeah, it's a steal.
And now he's hitting on her at her husband's grave.
But this is also like the most subdued conversation because he only comes up and he starts with like just a standard line of, hey, got any money? It's like, oh, I know you, you know me. And she's like, I killed my husband. And he's like, fuck, is this his grave? Yeah. It's like, shit. She's
There-
like, you want any chicken and a biscuits? He's like, I'm a vegetarian.
Like this movie does have some great lines.
Yeah.
None of them involve Judge Reinhold.
I mean, the
So-
end of the movie makes absolutely
Yeah,
no sense.
so-
to me.
Oh, you
They've-
got to make accounts payable, Johnny.
They've teased that Johnny owes people money throughout the film. And
Because
then,
he's like dealing drugs and doing drugs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this guy,
And he's doing more drugs than he's dealing.
he's
Bingo.
like, he's trying to like get Zandali to run away with him. And she's trying to, tell him to fuck off. And dude just rolls up in a car. It's like,
You got to make accounts payable, Johnny.
and then just, goes to shoot him. Zandali like takes the bullets.
Yeah, she
And then-
sees the opening and she's like, mine.
Yeah.
And fucking kill. It's like suicide by drug dealer.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then Johnny's just there holding her lifeless body.
And then he walks around the town a little bit and then credits.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like with her in his arms.
All right. So,
Before we like get too far, I do want to mention like how fucking wacky the music was in this.
Yeah.
The movie starts out with like New Orleans. They're like
so you got
early
some
morning
zydeco
on like
and-
but
yeah.
it's just like bop, bop, what up, bop, bop, what up, what up. It's like what the fuck
this isn't Samson and Son.
And it's all Pray for Rain is the band. I haven't looked them up, but I wrote down their name because I now have beef with Pray for Rain.
Yeah.
The music for this is so antithetical to the content of the movie, the theme. Yeah, it's like Nick Cage is about to rape a girl. Bop, bop, what up? Bop, bop, what up, what up? Not good.
The best Johnny line in this entire film is, "I want to shake you naked and eat you alive."
Yeah.
I think it's not the best line. My favorite line from him is, "Yes, it is, darling. When that big red snatch is coming up right in your face like a freight train, it is pretty hard to paint. I tell you what."
That was a good one.
I was a big fan of "You want it and I want to give it. The perfect relationship."
What do you guys have for like fun facts? Anything?
Not real. I mean, I told
This movie is a black hole of
Yeah.
information.
Fucking for sure.
nobody reviewed it. Nobody watched it.
It was a direct to VHS release in the United States.
Yeah.
Like,
Wait, did it get a theatrical release elsewhere?
yeah,
France.
Where? Oh, fucking France.
it would be France.
God damn it. Did you guys watch American Dad?
Yes. Is this going to be about the
Fast and the
Fast and
Furious
Furious? I was just thinking about
episode.
talking about this, and I'm like, that doesn't need to go in here.
Oh, it definitely
The joke being that the writer of all the Fast and the Furious movies, these are just like homoerotic love stories.
They're like 2-hour gay sex movies.
Yeah, it's like the movies are like 3 hours, and most of that is just gay sex, and it gets cut down to an action car film. But in France, they get full penetration.
Whole uncut. But it's got shit like Dominic Toretto like barrel rolling a car over Paul Walker's car, and like what they do, they both lean out the window and like fucking French kiss like in slow motion.
The end of the episode is Stan's mom like in France after her husband dies, and goes to see the Fast and the Furious like 7, and she just leans over to this French kid, like, "Have I missed any butt play?" And he's like, "Tons."
Yeah, that tracks. France would be the place that this movie got a theatrical release, while us fucking prudes in America have to deal with
VHS.
fucking VHS.
Good Cage, good movie. Bad Cage, bad movie. Good, bad, bad, good.
This is a tough one.
I'm gonna go neutral Cage, bad movie.
I think it's still good Cage, bad movie, because he brings so much like just fire to that role. He's 100% invested in everything, and I don't think he misses. I don't think
That's fair.
I don't think his lines ever fell short. Like my notes rip apart Judge Reinhold.
Erica Anderson.
Yeah.
Is Eric Anderson still alive?
I don't know if she's alive. She has done nothing with
Yeah.
her career.
Well, she deeply regretted doing this movie.
Yeah.
I
So.
don't blame her.
Everybody else in this movie kind of sucked.
Yeah.
Joey Pants was good.
Yeah.
Joey Pants was
good.
okay.
Buscemi, not great.
He kind of felt like a reading. Steve Buscemi definitely felt like he was just reading his lines.
Yeah.
I took a photo of like a young Buscemi like lighting a cigarette. Young Steve Buscemi, good looking dude. He's not terrible looking.
I mean, he looks like the kind of person who hangs out with us, but that doesn't really put him above anybody else.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I said this to Meredith, and Meredith's like, that kind of looks like you. I'm like, yeah, maybe that's what it is.
I think that's the thing is I looked at that and I was like, that kind of looks like me if I have different facial hair. So
That's not true. You only look like Donald Kaufman.
exactly right.
You
Not
are
Charlie.
Donald.
Donald. I lived, bitches.
I went through a windshield at 4 in the morning. I don't give a fuck.
All right. I'm gonna go with Joe this week.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I
Joe
don't
was
think
such
this
a
one's-
good movie.
fine.
I'm glad we got to watch Zandalee.
Yeah.
I was very concerned about its status online.
I can see why it's gets the reviews.
I
it
was
does.
highly amused the entire time
Yeah.
I watched it.
I don't think it
is
was-
it good?
No.
No, it's melodrama.
But it was entertaining.
It's made by a person who didn't end up doing anything.
And it's
it,
not-
it feels like an art
Free
film that
Willy
failed.
3, motherfucker.
Yeah,
I haven't
right.
seen a single Free Willy.
Is that what it's called? 3 Willy?
It's not, but it should
That's
be.
a shame.
Yeah, I think Joe is clearly the better film in this.
Yeah, Joe was a great
Yeah,
movie.
I loved
In the context of these two movies, Joe was great.
What are we watching next time?
So next week we've got some new guests with us, and we are watching Mandy and Prisoners of the Ghostland.
Ooh, who are our guests?
Our guests are Alex and Sammy of
Star Trek, the original siblings.
That's right. And we are excited to have them. It's going to be a fun time.
Yeah, they seem like cool people.
Unlike us. Thank you for listening. Please, rate, review. If you want to chat with us, we're on Reddit, we are Cage Match Pod. On Patreon, if you want to support us, we are just Cage Match. And a special thanks to our Sparkle buddies, Josh, Sean, Josie, Rico, Matt, and Adam. And extra special thanks to our cage dancers, Ira and John. I don't have anything else. We need something sexy to go out on. Oh, no.
Bye bye.
You would know if it was my butt.
Oh.
Because it's a raucous party. Because I'm a party dude.
Zee-ba-ba-ba-da-boo.
Yeah, my butt's just like scat man.
Oh, God.
That would be a hell of a party trick.
That would be so good. God, I'm just picturing it now, silently.
Now I'm just imagining you shitting your pants up.
Hey, man. I haven't sharded once on any
'Cause I'm the
party
scat
Friday.
man.
Yeah. I got massive control. I love how I pronounce one thing correctly and the other part of it.
Yeah.
Like split a word, say it wrong and right at the same time.
Jalapeno?
Jalapeno.
Got guava, though.
Yeah, guava jalapeno.
Guava jalapeno.
Mmm.
Oh, that's bad.
Oh, yeah, this literally just tastes like I drank a cigarette butt. But it gets nicer at the end.
Oh, this gets worse at the end.
Nicer than a cigarette butt. Not to say it's better in
right.
general, but
Huh. This is not very good.
No.